Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're in the pharma space, you already know the 2023 revision of the drugs rules in India is, well, it's a massive shift. But let's be real, reading through hundreds of pages of dense government notifications isn't exactly anyone's idea of a fun afternoon, right? So today, we're going to decode the main principles of this newly revised Schedule M. We'll translate all that heavy regulatory text into a super clear, easy-to-grasp hierarchy of pharmaceutical quality, from top-down leadership straight down to basic human sanitation. Let's get into it.
Okay, here's our structural roadmap for today. We've got 5 core principles to cover. First, the revised Schedule M itself, then the pharmaceutical quality system, quality risk management, core GMP principles, and finally, personnel and sanitation.
So, let's kick things off with Section 1, the revised Schedule M.
Right out of the gate, this revised text establishes the absolute highest stakes possible. We are talking about ultimate manufacturer accountability for patient safety. It explicitly states that the manufacturer must ensure products don't place patients at risk, period. This isn't just about, scraping by at routine inspection anymore. It's a rock-solid mandate that the drugs produced are fit for their intended use. This really sets the tone for the entire regulatory update, doesn't it?
And you can actually see this drastic shift in scope written right into the title itself. See, the old terminology simply referred to good manufacturing practices. But the 2023 revision, it expands this to explicitly include requirements of premises, plant, and equipment. What does that mean for you? It means the rules no longer just govern your operational practices. They literally govern the physical realities of your facility. Your walls, your air handlers, your production lines, they're all under the exact same intense scrutiny as your batch records now.
All right, moving right along to Section 2, the pharmaceutical quality system. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that quality, it's no longer just some floor-level task assigned to the QC lab. The pharmaceutical quality system, or PQS, requires a comprehensively designed framework. And the kicker? It has to be fundamentally driven by senior management. Schedule M explicitly states that hitting those quality objectives is the responsibility of leadership. It demands active resource allocation from the top down, just to make sure GMP and risk management are completely woven into the DNA of your company's culture.
And think of this as building a continuous safety net. The PQS doesn't just magically kick in the day a drug hits the market. No, the revised rules apply GMP across the entire life cycle of a product. We're talking from the very beginning, the manufacture of investigational products for clinical trials, carrying right through technology transfer, governing decades of commercial manufacturing, and staying in effect right up until product discontinuation. It is a true cradle-to-grave commitment.
Next up, Section 3, Quality Risk Management.
You can kind of think of quality risk management, or QRM, as a facility's proactive immune system. It's this systematic process to assess and control risks, and here's the key: it must be based strictly on scientific knowledge. It's not about guessing what might go wrong. It's about utilizing hard data to neutralize risks before they ever even get close to a patient. Oh, and remember, the amount of effort you put into documenting all this needs to actually match the real-world risk the product poses.
To make this a bit more concrete, the revised rules mandate a regular product quality review. Basically, this system requires you to take your raw operational inputs, so things like the traceability of starting materials, failed batches, significant deviations, or market recalls, and literally transform them into tangible outputs. We're talking corrective actions, preventative actions, or even full-blown equipment revalidation. You aren't just logging errors in a binder. You're actively evolving your systems every single year based on that historical data.
Okay, let's dive into Section 4, Core GMP Principles.
So if the PQS is your overarching philosophy, good manufacturing practices are your day-to-day operational execution. GMP ensures products are consistently produced and controlled. And consistency is absolutely the key word here. It's the ironclad guarantee that the millionth tablet coming off your line matches the exact same quality, safety, and efficacy of that original approved prototype from the clinical trials.
Instead of getting totally lost in some endless compliance checklist, let's just focus on the fundamental resources these revised rules explicitly demand. To even be considered GMP compliant, a facility has to provide sufficient and trained personnel, adequate space, suitable equipment, approved written procedures, and proper storage. I mean, if a manufacturer is cutting corners on facility space, or maybe understaffing their quality unit, they are fundamentally violating the core principles of the revised Schedule M.
Notice the profound shift in operational philosophy going on here.
The revised schedule heavily emphasizes prevention over detection. It explicitly mandates controlling the risks of cross-contamination by using dedicated areas, appropriately treated air with pressure differentials, and closed production systems. It is way safer and, well, now legally required, to engineer the risk of contamination right out of your plant's design rather than just relying on the QC lab to hopefully catch a flaw later on.
Which brings us to our final core principle, Section 5, Personnel and Sanitation.
So ask yourself, who actually carries the standard of pharmaceutical quality? Because despite all those high-level PQS frameworks, the fancy risk management software, and the state-of-the-art HVAC systems, the integrity of a drug ultimately rests in the hands of the human beings manufacturing it. Fact is, the absolute greatest source of contamination in any clean room is the personnel.
And because of that, the latest revision leaves absolutely zero room for error when it comes to the human element. The protocols are incredibly strict. First up, mandatory health checkups, and this includes specific periodic eye exams for anyone doing visual inspections. Second, you have strict ongoing hygiene training requiring proper hand washing and protective clothing before even stepping foot in production. And third, there is an active duty placed on every employee to immediately report any illness or open lesions that could compromise product quality, no exceptions.
Furthermore, accountability here isn't just some vague buzzword. It's localized directly to specific key personnel. The rules dictate that the heads of production and the quality units must be independent of one another to prevent any conflicts of interest. But they share joint responsibility for critical daily realities, things like plant hygiene, process validation, and approving suppliers. They are, essentially, the ultimate human guardians of the PQS.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a critical question to chew on. When a single compromised batch of medicine has the potential to affect thousands of lives, is your facility merely compliant on paper, or are you truly committed to this hierarchy of pharmaceutical quality? The revised Schedule M is not just a list of polite suggestions. It's a legally binding framework designed to force a massive cultural shift toward absolute patient protection. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack these main principles today. Use this knowledge to elevate your operations, and as always, keep learning.